In small American towns, secrets have a way of hiding in plain sight. Behind white picket fences, in conversations at the grocery store, in smiles at Sunday services. Oak Hollow was no exception. Oak Hollow, Michigan, population 8,426. A typical American town with one main street, a few traffic lights, and a history rooted in the 19th century logging industry. Today, the town survives on small businesses, tourism, and tailor construction, the largest employer in the county. "I've been serving this town for 18 years, says Sheriff David Marsh. In that time, we've had 3 murders. All 3 were the result of domestic disputes or drunken brawls. What happened to Emily Taylor? That's different. Oak Hollow has never seen anything like this before." On April 28, 2024, at 7:42 a.m., a call came into 911 from James Taylor, a 32-year-old construction company owner. His voice was shaking as he told the dispatcher that his wife wasn't breathing. "Please hurry. My wife, there's blood everywhere. Oh my God, help!" Can be heard on the recording of the call. "Sir, stay on the line. An ambulance and police are on their way. Can you tell me what happened?" the dispatcher asks. "I don't know. I came home and found her." "Oh my God, Emily," James replies. "I arrived at the scene about 20 minutes after the call," recalls Detective Sarah Connors. "Paramedics have confirmed the death. Emily Taylor, 27, suffered multiple stab wounds to the chest and neck. Based on a preliminary examination, death occurred between midnight and 3 a.m. James Taylor was sitting on the steps of the porch when Detective Connors approached him. His white shirt was stained with blood, and he appeared dazed. He said he had spent the night at a motel outside town, working on an important contract, and had only returned home that morning. "Emily and I had an argument yesterday afternoon," he explained. "Nothing serious, just she wanted to go to her parents' house for the weekend, and I had a deadline to meet. I decided to spend the night at a motel so I wouldn't disturb her getting ready, and so I could finish my work. When I came back, Emily's body was found in the bedroom on the 2nd floor. She was wearing a nightgown, and the bed was rumpled. There were no signs of a struggle in the house, nor any signs of forced entry. The front door was locked when James came home. He had to use his key. The first thing that strikes you is the number of blows," said medical examiner Dr. Lynn White. "Emily suffered 17 stab wounds. Such brutality usually indicates a crime committed in the heat of the moment, possibly by someone who had strong feelings toward the victim." James and Emily Taylor moved into their new home just 3 months ago after getting married in October. According to neighbors, they seemed like a happy couple. "They were like something out of a magazine. Beautiful, successful," said Martha Jenkins, who lives across the street. James is a local celebrity. His family founded this town. And Emily, she moved to Oak Hollow about 3 years ago. She got a job as an administrator at the Pine Grove Hotel. Many girls had their eyes on James, but he chose her. Their wedding was the main event of last year in Oak Hollow. More than 200 guests, a reception at a country club, fireworks over the lake. Photos from the celebration still hang in the window of the only photo studio in town. "Emily was literally glowing that day," recalls photographer Kevin Harris. "James looked at her like she was a treasure. It's hard to believe that just 6 months later." During the initial examination of the crime scene, Detective Connors noticed some details that struck her as odd. In the bedroom, there were 2 half-empty wine bottles and 2 glasses on the dressing table. The bed had been stripped on both sides. James claimed he hadn't slept at home, Connors said. So who did Emily drink wine with? And why were there no signs of anyone else in the house? The police found dozens of messages on Emily's phone that she had deleted but which they managed to recover. Most of them were from someone named M. Short and intimate in nature. "We started digging deeper," the detective continues, "and the image of the perfect couple began to crumble before our eyes." Emily Carter was born and raised in Detroit in a middle-class family. After high school, she enrolled in a community college to study hotel management, but did not complete her studies. Before moving to Oak Hollow, she had lived in several cities and worked in various jobs. When we contacted her former employers and acquaintances, a curious picture began to emerge, Connors explains. Emily always gravitated toward wealthy men. In every new city, she found a wealthy patron, James Taylor seemed to be her biggest prize. The roadside motel where James said he spent the night is located 15 miles from Oak Hollow. The manager confirmed that Taylor did check in at 8 p.m., but surveillance cameras in the parking lot recorded his car leaving around 11 p.m. The same car returned to the motel at 4:20 a.m. James's alibi was starting to fall apart, says Connors. And then another curious detail emerged. A week before the murder, he changed his life insurance policy, naming Emily as the sole beneficiary of the $2 million payout. The picture began to change. What if it wasn't the husband who found his wife's body but coldly planned her murder? But the investigation was just beginning, and soon the detectives discovered that there were many more layers to this story than initially appeared. Michael Rivera was wiping down the bar at the Lumberjack, the only decent bar in Oak Hollow, when Detective Connors approached him. Of average height and unremarkable appearance, he didn't stand out among the other locals. But when the detective showed him a photo of Emily, his hand froze with the rag. "I heard what happened. It's all anyone in town is talking about," he said after a pause. "Did you know Mrs. Taylor well?" Connors asked, watching his reaction. "Like everyone in this town. She used to come here with her husband. They drank wine on Fridays." When the detective showed him the printout of messages from Emily's phone signed with the initial M, Rivera was silent for a long time, then asked for the bar to be closed. They needed to talk alone. "We met Emily in college in Detroit," he began. "We dated for about a year, then broke up. I didn't see her for several years until she showed up here at the bar 3 years ago. She said she had come to start a new life." According to Michael, their relationship resumed about 6 months after Emily arrived in town. She was already working at the Pine Grove Hotel and had started dating James Taylor. Emily always wanted more. In college, she dreamed of being the manager of a 5-star hotel, but she dropped out when she realized how much work it would take. She was looking for an easier way out. Michael admitted that their relationship continued even after she married James. They would meet at the Blue Pine Motel on the outskirts of a neighboring town, far enough away to avoid running into anyone they knew. "Were you with her on the night she died?" Connors asked bluntly. "No. We had agreed to meet, but I canceled. I had a shift at the bar until closing time, and there are witnesses. The last time I saw her was 3 days before it happened." Michael showed the detective the last messages he had saved from Emily. She complained about James, writing that he was becoming suspicious and checking her phone. In the last message, sent the day before her death, Emily wrote, "I think he knows something. We need to talk, not here. Come over tomorrow at 9 p.m. The marks on the bed and the glasses. "Could that have been you?" Connors asked. "I told you, I wasn't there," Michael said, nervously running his hand through his hair. "Maybe she found someone else." Further investigation confirmed Michael's alibi. He had indeed worked at the bar until 2 a.m., after which he went home. Neighbors saw him park his car at his house at around 2:30 a.m., which ruled out his presence at the crime scene. But Rivera's testimony opened up a new avenue of investigation. If Emily was seeing Michael behind her husband's back, could there be other secrets? A search of the Taylors' home, conducted with a court order, revealed some curious findings in the bottom drawer of Emily's dressing table, under a pile of sweaters. Detectives found a bank book in the name of Emily Carter, her maiden name. Over the past 6 months, more than $75,000 had been deposited into the account in small amounts. The source of the money was not obvious. A more thorough search of the bedroom also revealed expensive jewelry, watches, and designer handbags hidden in a secret compartment in the closet. The total value of these items exceeded $120,000. According to James, he did not buy Emily such expensive gifts and did not know about their existence. "This girl was leading a double life," comments forensic psychologist Dr. Elizabeth Grant. "This behavior is typical of people with certain personality types. They create a facade behind which a completely different person hides." The financial side of the case led detectives to a new witness. Robert Foster, a 45-year-old financial advisor who worked with James's company, volunteered to testify after news of James Taylor's arrest broke. "I can't keep quiet any longer," he said as he entered Detective Connor's office accompanied by his lawyer. Foster admitted that he had been in a relationship with Emily for the past 8 months. They met at a corporate event where Emily was accompanying James before their wedding. She knew how to charm men, Foster recalled. She showed interest in my work and asked me to explain financial terms. After a few conversations like that, we started dating. As a married man with 2 teenage children, Foster had a lot to lose. But Emily, he said, was very persuasive. Soon she started asking him for money, small amounts at first, then more and more. She said James controlled all the spending and gave her little cash. She complained that she felt like she was in a gilded cage. I wanted to help. Over the past 6 months, Foster transferred about $50,000 to her account. He also gave her jewelry and designer clothes. "Were you at her house on the night of the murder?" Connors asked. "No. We hadn't seen each other for 2 weeks. She said James had become suspicious and we needed to take a break. I was at home with my wife. It was our wedding anniversary and we were watching a movie." Foster's testimony was corroborated by his wife, although she later admitted that she had taken a sleeping pill and gone to bed around 10 p.m. Theoretically, Robert could have left the house after that, but neighbors' surveillance cameras did not record any movement of his car that night. "Now we have 2 men with whom Emily was cheating on her husband," Connors noted in her notes. "Both deny being at the house on the night of the murder. Both have confirmed alibis. So who was with Emily, and who left the 2 glasses of wine?" Meanwhile, the financial investigation revealed new details. James Taylor, despite his outward prosperity, was experiencing serious business problems. His construction company had taken out a large loan secured by personal property to finance a new project, a shopping center on the outskirts of Oak Hollow. But the municipal authorities were dragging their feet on issuing permits, and the bank was demanding payments on schedule. James could have lost everything, explained a financial expert brought in to help with the investigation. His company, his house, even family heirlooms were mortgaged. This information cast James in a new light. What if the life insurance wasn't evidence, but his salvation? $2 million could solve his financial problems. When detectives questioned James again, he looked exhausted. "I didn't kill my wife," he repeated. "Yes, I lied about where I was that night, but not because I killed her." According to him, he did leave the motel around 11 p.m., but instead of going home, he went to meet a potential investor from Chicago who could save his business. The meeting took place at the investor's country house, with no witnesses. James feared that if he mentioned the meeting, his financial problems would become public knowledge, which would completely undermine the bank's trust in him. "I returned to the motel in the early morning and wanted to sleep for a couple of hours before going home, but I decided to stop by Emily's place first to make up. We had a fight before I left. If only I had come earlier." He didn't finish his sentence. The Chicago investor confirmed the meeting, although he noted that James seemed distracted and nervous, checking his phone several times. He received a message before leaving and turned pale, the investor recalled. He said he had to leave urgently, even though it was already past midnight. A check of James's phone showed that at 11:47 p.m., he had received a message from an unknown number. "I know everything about her, and now she knows. Check your email." James's email contained a message sent from an anonymous address at 11:45 p.m., with attached photos of Emily and Robert Foster together, as well as screenshots of bank transfers. "That explains why he was in such a hurry to get home," Connors remarked. "But it doesn't explain who sent him this information and why on that particular evening." The new direction of the investigation led to an unexpected discovery. Among the contacts in Emily's phone, they found a number belonging to Ann Foster, Robert's wife. When listening to Emily's voicemail, they found a deleted message from Ann dated the day of the murder. "We need to talk. Today. I know everything about you and Robert." The interrogation of Ann Foster yielded shocking results. The woman confessed that she had been following her husband for several months, hiring a private investigator. After obtaining evidence of his infidelity, she first sent an anonymous message to James Taylor, then drove to Emily's house. "I wanted to look into the eyes of the woman who destroyed my family," Ann said through tears. "Robert and I have been married for 20 years, we have children, and she just used him for money. Anne arrived at the Taylor's house around 9 p.m. Emily was alone. They drank wine. "I wanted to remain civil," Anne explained. The conversation turned into an argument. Emily did not deny her relationship with Robert, but she did not show any remorse either. "She laughed at me," Anne recalled, clenching her fists. "She said that people like me deserve to be cheated on, that men like Robert and James are trophies, and she knows how to get them, that she always has a backup plan." Anne claimed she left around 10:30 p.m., leaving Emily alive and unharmed. Surveillance cameras on neighboring houses confirmed that a car resembling Anne's did indeed leave the area at that time. "I didn't kill her, I swear," Anne insisted. "Yes, I was angry, but not that angry." The Taylors' neighbors recalled seeing another car parked nearby around 11 p.m., a dark sedan that left about an hour later. It didn't match James's car or the Fosters' cars. Did Emily have another visitor that night? Connors wondered. A third man? Or someone we haven't identified yet? The investigation stalled until an analysis of phone calls revealed a curious pattern. In the last 2 weeks before her death, Emily had regularly called a family planning clinic in a neighboring town. A visit to the clinic yielded new information. Emily was 6 weeks pregnant. "This changes everything," Connors said at the investigation team briefing. "The child could be any of the three men's, James, Michael's, or Robert's, and any of them could have had a motive depending on the circumstances." Meanwhile, toxicology tests revealed traces of a sleeping pill in Emily's system. The drug was strong enough to render a person incapable of resisting an attack, which explained the lack of defensive wounds on her body. "She trusted whoever gave her the wine," Connors concluded. "He may have been the last person she saw alive." The town was divided into two camps, those who believed James was a cold-blooded killer, and those who believed Emily was a victim of her own manipulations. The truth, as it turned out, was even more complicated and confusing. Bank statements never lie. That thought never left Detective Sarah Connors' mind as she reviewed the financial documents obtained during the investigation. Unlike people, numbers cannot pretend. They tell a story without emotion or excuses. "Look at this." Connors pointed to a series of transactions on the computer screen, turning to her colleague, Detective Mark Johnson. Over the past 6 months, Emily has transferred more than $120,000 from James's company accounts to her secret account. A financial audit of Taylor Construction revealed systematic embezzlement, carefully disguised as operating expenses. Small amounts, ranging from $3,000 to $5,000, were regularly withdrawn and redirected through several accounts before ending up in Emily's personal account. "She used her access to the company's finances," explained Linda Morris, chief accountant at Taylor Construction. "After the wedding, James gave her signing authority on financial documents. He trusted her completely." When detectives showed this information to James Taylor, he looked shocked. "I didn't know anything about this," he said, running his hand over his face as if trying to wipe away fatigue. "My God, she was stealing from me all this time? Why? She had everything she wanted." "Not everything," Connors remarked. Judging by her bank transactions 2 weeks before her death, she made a deposit on an apartment in Chicago. It looks like she was planning to leave. A review of Emily's emails confirmed this theory. She had been corresponding with several Chicago hotels about job openings. One of the last emails she received offered her an assistant manager position at a boutique hotel in the city center, with the possibility of starting in a month. "She was going to disappear with the money," Johnson suggested. Maybe James found out and couldn't forgive her. But James continued to deny any involvement in the murder. He said he had no idea about his wife's financial shenanigans or her plans to leave. A polygraph test, which he voluntarily agreed to take, showed that he was probably telling the truth. "I don't think he knew about the money," Connors said after another interrogation. His reaction was sincere, but that doesn't rule out his involvement in the murder for other reasons. The investigation moved forward. DNA analysis confirmed the paternity of the child Emily was expecting. To the investigators' surprise, it was neither James nor Robert Foster. "Michael Rivera," Connors told the investigation team. The test showed a 99.9% probability. Michael's interrogation brought new revelations. He admitted that Emily had told him about her pregnancy a week before her death. She called me. She was panicking, he recalled. She said the test was positive and the baby was definitely mine because James has problems in that area. I offered her support, but she said she would figure it out herself. The next day, she wrote that she had found a solution. What solution? Connors asked. I don't know. She didn't go into details. I thought she meant abortion. But then I changed my mind. She was talking about some plan, about money. She said, everything will change soon. A check of phone records showed that Emily had called Robert Foster on the same day. Their conversation lasted almost an hour. When detectives questioned Foster again, he finally admitted that Emily had blackmailed him. She demanded $200,000, Robert said nervously, avoiding his lawyer's gaze. She threatened to tell my wife and clients about our relationship if I didn't pay. She said she had compromising photos and videos. And you agreed to pay? Connors asked. I didn't have that kind of money. All my assets are jointly owned with my wife. I tried to explain that to Emily, but she wouldn't listen. She gave me 3 days to think it over. When was the deadline? The day she died, Foster replied quietly. But I swear I didn't kill her. I was going to tell my wife the truth and face the consequences. It would have been awful, but I'm not a murderer. This motive prompted detectives to double-check Robert's alibi. Technically, he had a window of about 2 hours when his wife was asleep under the influence of sleeping pills. Could he have slipped out of the house, driven to Emily's, killed her, and returned unnoticed? A check of his phone's geolocation showed that the device had not left the area around his home. However, Foster could have left his phone at home on purpose. A more convincing argument came from a neighbor's camera, which continuously recorded the entrance to the Fosters' house and did not record him leaving during the critical time period. Meanwhile, the investigation uncovered another important detail in the financial puzzle. The money that Emily had been systematically withdrawing from James's accounts was partly invested in shares of the pharmaceutical company Newlywed. Over the past month, these investments had earned her an additional $45,000. She was smarter than everyone thought, remarked a financial expert. She didn't just steal, she made the money work for her. An interesting coincidence was that one of Newlywed's main investors was the same Chicago businessman James had met on the night of the murder. A check revealed that Emily may have known about this meeting in advance. She asked me a strange question a week ago, James's secretary recalled. She asked if it was true that Mr. Taylor was planning to meet with Richard Klein from Chicago. I confirmed it, but was surprised by her knowledge. Very few people knew about this meeting. Klein, in turn, admitted during a second interrogation that he had received emails from Emily a week before his meeting with James. She offered information about her husband's financial situation, he said. She claimed that things were much worse than James was willing to admit. She hinted that she had confidential information that could influence my investment decisions. How did you respond? Connors asked. I ignored it. I don't do business that way, but I have to admit that her letters made me more cautious when I met with Taylor. This discovery added a new twist to the case. Emily wasn't just stealing from James, she was actively undermining his business relationships. The new question was, why? What made her work so systematically against her own husband? The answer began to emerge when detectives dug deeper into Emily's past. Before moving to Oak Hollow, she had worked briefly at the Windsor Hotel in Detroit, where a man named Victor Santos was the manager. Emily was special, Santos recalled via video link. Ambitious, smart, but with no moral boundaries. She quickly realized that our business was not just about checking guests in. As it turned out, the Windsor Hotel was a well-known place for business people seeking confidential meetings. Santos hinted that Emily helped organize these meetings and quickly realized the value of the information. She found out who was meeting whom and what they were talking about. Sometimes, she recorded conversations. You understand? She used this to get promotions and bonuses. When I discovered that she was blackmailing clients, I had to fire her. This pattern of behavior was repeated in Emily's other jobs. She used her access to information, manipulated people, and when the situation became dangerous, she disappeared and started over in another city. Oak Hollow was her jackpot, Santos continued. She wrote to me after she got married. She bragged about how well she had married and what opportunities she now had. Connors showed him a photo of a dark sedan spotted near the Taylor's house on the night of the murder. "Recognize the car?" Santos stared at the photo for a long time. "Looks like a BMW 5 Series. One of our regular customers at Windsor drove one like that. Thomas Higgins. He was obsessed with Emily." A check revealed that Thomas Higgins, a 52-year-old investment banker from Detroit, did indeed own a dark BMW 5 Series. His bank records confirmed that he had stayed at the roadside motel, the same one where James allegedly worked, on the night of the murder. He checked in under his own name, but surveillance footage showed that his car, like James's, left the motel several hours later. When the police tried to find Higgins for questioning, they discovered that he had flown to Europe the day after the murder and had not returned to the United States since. "We are dealing with a carefully planned scheme," Connors concluded at a meeting with the prosecutor. Emily Taylor was at the center of a web of deception, blackmail, and manipulation. She had romantic and financial relationships with at least 3 men, not counting her husband. She systematically stole money from James's company, invested it, and planned her escape. Her pregnancy by Michael Rivera likely accelerated her plans. "But who killed her?" the prosecutor asked the obvious question. "The list of suspects is extensive," replied Connors. "James Taylor, who found out about the affair and financial fraud; Robert Foster, whom she blackmailed; Ann Foster, Robert's wife, who found out about her husband's relationship with Emily; Thomas Higgins, who strangely appeared in town on the night of the murder and immediately disappeared. And those are just the ones we know about." Meanwhile, a search of Michael Rivera's apartment, conducted under a court order, revealed a curious find: a box of letters and photographs. Michael and Emily had apparently kept in touch all the years since they broke up in college. In one of the letters, dated a month before her wedding to James, Emily wrote, "The plan is working perfectly. Jay proposed. Can you imagine the possibilities this opens up for us? In a year at most, we'll be able to leave, just like we dreamed. I learned patience from you, my dear miss. Just a little longer, and we'll be rewarded." Michael claimed that the letter referred to their shared dreams of moving to a big city and did not imply any criminal activity or deception. Nevertheless, this significantly changed his status in the investigation. From a witness, he became a potential accomplice in a long-term fraud. The most unexpected twist came when detectives discovered Emily's phone records. The day before the murder, she had spoken with Maxim Volkov, a Chicago family lawyer specializing in divorce cases involving large financial assets. An entry in his calendar confirmed that Emily had an appointment for a consultation in 2 weeks. She was planning a divorce, Connors concluded, but not just a divorce. She was gathering information on James, laying the groundwork for the most favorable property settlement possible. "And she was pregnant by another man," Johnson added. "The question is, did she know that James had somehow found out about her plans? That could have sped things up." The key to the mystery was a draft message found on Emily's phone, addressed to Michael but never sent. "Everything's falling apart. Someone told Jay about us. They also sent him information about the accounts. I don't know who, but I have my suspicions. Meet me at your place tomorrow. I'll take the valuables and documents. Be ready to leave." The message was sent at 10:15 p.m. on the night of the murder, shortly after Ann Foster left. Emily obviously knew or suspected that her plans had been discovered. But if she was going to run, why did she stay home? And who, in her opinion, could have revealed her secrets to James? The answer came unexpectedly. During a search of James Taylor's office, an envelope was found hidden under a false bottom in a desk drawer. It contained copies of Emily's bank statements, photographs confirming her relationship with Michael, and printouts of her emails to Robert Foster and Richard Klein. The envelope was dated 2 weeks before the murder and bore the inscription, "Insurance in case of betrayal." The handwriting did not belong to James. A graphology expert determined that the inscription was written by Linda Morris, the company's chief accountant. During a second interrogation, Linda broke down and confessed that she had discovered Emily's financial fraud a month earlier. But instead of reporting it to James immediately, she had begun gathering evidence. She hoped to protect the company and its owner from more serious consequences. "I've worked for the Taylor family for 25 years, she said through tears. "I even helped James's father. I couldn't let this woman destroy everything they've built." "Did you tell James about your findings?" Connors asked. No, I wanted to gather more evidence. But a week ago, the envelope disappeared from my desk. I don't know who took it. I swear. Suspicion fell on James's secretary, who had access to the office. He admitted that he had indeed taken the envelope at Emily's request. She came to the office when everyone had gone out for lunch, he explained. She said James had asked her to pick up some important documents from Linda's office. I had no reason not to believe her. She was the boss's wife. Only later did I realize she had deceived me. And what did she do with the envelope? I don't know. She took it and left. She looked upset. This episode explained why Emily might have suspected that James knew about her double life. Perhaps she had managed to look through the contents of the envelope and realize the seriousness of the situation. But who sent the anonymous message to James on the night of the murder? And who was the last visitor to the Taylor house? The town of Oak Hollow was filled with rumors and theories. Some believed that Emily had fallen victim to her own greed and manipulation. Others blamed James, Robert, or the mysterious Thomas Higgins. Michael Rivera, a previously unremarkable bartender, suddenly found himself in the spotlight as the potential father of Emily's child and her longtime accomplice. But Detective Connors felt that the truth had not yet been fully uncovered. There are too many coincidences in this case, she said. Too many people had reasons to want Emily dead that night. It can't be a coincidence. The investigation continued, uncovering more secrets in a small town where everyone knew everyone, or at least thought they did. April 27, 2024, the last day of Emily Taylor's life. Reconstructing the events of that day became the main task for Detective Sarah Connors and her team. The morning at the Taylor house began with another argument. A neighbor walking her dog heard raised voices around 8 a.m. They were yelling at each other, recalled Eleanor Clark, a 67-year-old retiree. They usually tried to keep up the appearance of a perfect couple, but lately they had been arguing more and more. That morning I heard James say something about money and trust. Emily replied that he had misunderstood. James confirmed the argument. He said that the night before he had discovered strange charges on the company credit card, purchases at Chicago boutiques that Emily had not told him about. I asked her why she needed to spend company money on personal items, James said. She assured me it was a mistake, that she had mixed up the cards, but I had my doubts. According to the housekeeper who came in on Fridays, the atmosphere in the house was tense when she arrived at 9 a.m. Mr. Taylor was already leaving when I arrived, Maria Gonzalez said. He looked upset and barely said hello. Mrs. Taylor was sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee, looking very pale. She said she had a headache and asked me to work quietly. Surveillance cameras recorded James arriving at his company's office at 9:15 a.m. According to employees, he spent most of the day behind closed doors, canceling several scheduled meetings. He didn't seem like himself, said his secretary, Rebecca Lewis. He asked not to be disturbed and said he was going to work on financial documents. At the same time, Emily made several important phone calls. At 10:23 a.m., she contacted Michael Rivera, and the conversation lasted just over 5 minutes. At 11:15 a.m., she called a family planning clinic and made an appointment for the following week. At 12:40 p.m., she had her last conversation with Robert Foster. The content of these conversations is unknown, but judging by the messages on her phone, Emily was distraught and planning urgent action. At 1:05 p.m., she sent a message to Michael. "We need to hurry up. Jay suspects something. Can you pick up the things from the storage locker today?" At 2:30 p.m., Emily went to the bank, where she withdrew $12,000 in cash from her secret account. The teller recalled that she looked nervous and kept checking the time. When she returned home, Emily began packing some personal belongings. The housekeeper, who was leaving at 4 p.m., noticed an open suitcase in the bedroom. "I asked her if she was going on a trip," Maria said. "She said she might be going to her parents for the weekend. She looked tense and was looking at her phone the whole time." At 5:20 p.m., James left the office and headed not home, but to the bank, where he had an appointment with the manager to discuss extending the company's line of credit. The meeting lasted until 6:45 p.m. At that moment, the phone rang at the Taylor's house. According to a neighbor who was working in the yard at the time, a taxi pulled up to the house and a woman got out. She was later identified as Ann Foster, The meeting between Emily and Ann Foster lasted about 2 hours. According to Ann herself, she came to demand that Emily end her relationship with her husband. Contrary to her initial statement, during a second interrogation, Ann admitted that she had brought a bottle of wine with her, to which she had previously added crushed sleeping pills. "I didn't mean to kill her," Ann said through tears. "I just wanted her to fall asleep so I could look for evidence of her relationship with Robert. Letters, photos, anything she used to blackmail him. I wanted to get rid of it once and for all." According to Ann, she and Emily talked in the kitchen, then moved to the living room. Emily did not deny her relationship with Robert, but claimed that he was the one who was pursuing her, not the other way around. "She was so cold-blooded," Ann recalled. "She said I had no proof except the words of a cheating husband whom no one would believe, that she had influential friends and offshore accounts. She said Robert and I were nobodies stuck in this backwater, and she had used us as a stepping stone." Ann admitted that at some point the conversation became heated. She threw wine in Emily's face and threatened to tell James the whole truth about his wife. Emily just laughed and said that soon it wouldn't matter anymore. "She showed me a pregnancy test," Ann said, her voice trembling. "She said the baby wasn't Robert's or James', that she and her real partner would get everything they deserved. I was so angry, but I didn't touch her. I swear." Surveillance cameras on neighboring houses confirmed that Ann Foster left the Taylor's house at 8:37 p.m., calling a taxi via an app. The taxi driver reported that the woman looked upset and cried the entire way, but there were no physical signs of a struggle, no scratches, bruises, or bloodstains on her. At around the same time, James Taylor met with Richard Klein at the latter's country home, 40 miles from Oak Hollow. The meeting was confirmed by both men and by surveillance cameras on the driveway to Klein's home. At 9:15 p.m., Emily sent a message to Michael. "Ann just left. It went worse than I thought. She knows about us and is threatening to tell Jay. We need to hurry." Michael replied at 9:20 p.m. "I'm at work until 2. Can't leave early. Don't do anything stupid. We'll figure it out tomorrow." At 9:30 p.m., cameras recorded a dark BMW sedan parked at the end of the street, where the Taylor's house was located. The driver, a middle-aged man, got out of the car and headed toward the house. At 9:33 p.m., a call lasting 47 seconds was made to the Taylor's home phone. According to mobile phone records, at 9:40 p.m., Emily sent a message asking to meet with Thomas Higgins, the same man she knew from her job at the Windsor Hotel in Detroit. "This has to end today," she wrote. "If everything you told me before is true, prove it now." At 9:45 p.m., surveillance cameras from a neighboring house recorded a man, believed to be Higgins, entering the Taylor home. He remained there until 10:50 p.m., after which he quickly left, got into his car, and drove away. At 10:15 p.m., Emily began writing the unsent message to Michael saying that everything is falling apart and that someone had told James about their relationship. The message remained in her drafts. She may have been interrupted. At 10:55 p.m., 5 minutes after Higgins left, James Taylor received an anonymous message on his cell phone saying that his wife was cheating on him, with photos and bank statements attached. James received this message while he was at Klein's house. "His face changed dramatically," Klein said. "He said he had to leave immediately. I offered to call him a taxi given his condition, but he refused." Cameras on the driveway recorded James's car leaving the premises at 11:05 p.m. According to him, he was too shaken and decided to first go to a motel where he had already booked a room to collect his thoughts before talking to his wife. At that time, according to data from smart devices, the lights in the bedroom and the TV in the living room were on at the Taylor home. The security system did not detect any movement until 11:40 p.m., when a sensor in the second-floor hallway was triggered. At 11:45 p.m., the last outgoing call was made from Emily's cell phone to Michael Rivera's number. The call lasted only 8 seconds and immediately went to voicemail, as Michael was serving customers at the bar at the time. Between midnight and 1:30 a.m., neighbors heard noises coming from the Taylor home. An elderly couple living across the street reported a loud bang, like something fell, at around 12:20 a.m., followed by the sound of breaking glass at around 1:15 a.m. At 4:15 a.m., cameras at the roadside motel recorded James's car returning. He said he spent several hours driving around the area, trying to decide what to do next. "I didn't want to go home right away," he explained. "I was afraid I wouldn't be able to control myself and say something I shouldn't. I decided to spend the night at a motel and talk calmly in the morning." However, at 7:20 a.m., James suddenly left the motel and headed home. "I don't know what came over me," he recalled. "I had a bad feeling. I decided it was better to talk right away without putting it off." At 7:40 a.m., James arrived home. The front door was locked, so he had to use his key. The house was silent. Going upstairs, he found his wife's body in the bedroom. The forensic examination determined that death occurred between 12:30 and 2 a.m. from multiple stab wounds. Emily had 17 stab wounds, mainly to the chest and neck. There was virtually no sign of a struggle. The level of sleeping pills in her blood was high enough to significantly slow her reactions. The murder weapon, a kitchen knife with a 20 centimeters blade, was found in the bedroom next to the body. Fingerprints were found on it, smeared with fabric, but experts were able to partially recover one fingerprint. "The killer acted in a state of intense emotional arousal," concluded the forensic psychologist. "The number and nature of the wounds indicate personal involvement and extreme anger. There were signs of a struggle in the bedroom, an overturned lamp, a broken mirror on the dressing table, and crumpled bedding. Shards of a wine glass with Emily's fingerprints and traces of lipstick on the rim were found on the floor. Particular attention was drawn to a partially burned document in the bedroom fireplace. Experts were able to recover part of the text. It was a draft divorce agreement prepared by a Chicago lawyer. The surviving fragment mentioned Emily's demands for the division of property, including 50% of James's company shares and full ownership of the house. She was planning to file for divorce in the next few days, Connors concluded. Perhaps the pregnancy hastened her plans, or she feared that James would soon learn of her machinations. During a search of the bedroom dresser, an envelope was found containing airline tickets for Emily Carter and Michael Rivera to Mexico City, dated April 30th, 3 days after the murder. Next to it was a folder containing documents for real estate in the suburbs of Mexico City and a bank statement from a Mexican bank. A search of Michael Rivera's apartment revealed a similar set of documents and tickets, as well as a passport in a different name with his photo. They were planning to flee, Connors concluded. First to Mexico City, then probably further, with the money Emily took out of James's company. But if Emily and Michael were preparing to leave, why did she need a divorce? And why was she blackmailing Robert Foster at the same time? The answer came after analyzing Emily's correspondence with her lawyer. In one of the letters, she asked if she could claim a share of James's company if she proved his involvement in financial fraud. And could a divorce affect a criminal investigation, if one were to begin? She was gathering material on James, Connors explained to the investigation team. She wasn't just planning to divorce him, she was planning to destroy his reputation and his business. She may have blackmailed him too. But James, according to him, had not received any demands or threats from his wife. "I knew nothing about her plans," he claimed. "Nothing about the divorce, nothing about the pregnancy, nothing about the money she stole. Not until that evening when I received the anonymous message." So who sent the message? Technical experts determined that it was sent from a disposable number purchased with cash in a neighboring town. But the IP address from which the email with the attachments was sent belonged to the roadside motel, the same one where Thomas Higgins was staying. Everything points to Higgins being the person who revealed the truth about James's wife, Connors concluded. The question is, why? What did he gain from it? The detectives found the answer to this question in Emily's mail. In one of the letters, sent a month before her death, she threatened Higgins with exposing an illegal scheme he had been involved in while she was working at the Windsor Hotel. It involved forging documents for influential hotel clients. She used this information to blackmail Higgins, explained Connors. But at some point, he decided he'd had enough and decided to strike first by revealing the whole truth about his wife to James. This explained Higgins's presence at Oak Hollow on the night of the murder and his hasty departure abroad. But was he the killer? We have several suspects, each with a motive, Connors concluded. James, who found out about his wife's infidelity and financial shenanigans. Ann Foster, Emily's lover's wife, who slipped her sleeping pills, Thomas Higgins, whom Emily was blackmailing, and even Michael Rivera. What if Emily's plans changed and she decided to get rid of him after getting the money? But the final answer came from the examination of a partial fingerprint on the knife handle, and that fingerprint belonged to... The Dalton County Courthouse was packed. It seemed as if the entire town of Oak Hollow had gathered there to hear the verdict in the most sensational case in the town's history. The tension was palpable. The whispering in the courtroom died down as Judge Richards took his seat. "Members of the jury, are you ready to deliver your verdict?" he asked, addressing the 12 county residents who had spent 2 weeks listening to testimony, examining evidence, and now had to render a decision. The foreman, local pharmacist George Peterson, rose from his seat, holding a piece of paper in his hand. "Yes, Your Honor. In the case of the state of California v. Michael Rivera, accused of the first-degree murder of Emily Taylor, what is the verdict of the jury? We, the jury, find the defendant guilty." Shock and surprise swept through the courtroom. A woman in the front row burst into tears. Many had expected the blame to fall on James Taylor, the victim's husband, or even Thomas Higgins, who had fled the country. But the evidence pointed in a different direction. 8 months of intensive investigation led Detective Sarah Connors and her team to unexpected conclusions. Michael Rivera, a bartender at the local bar, The Lumberjack, Emily's longtime lover and the father of her unborn child, was the one who stabbed her 17 times. This was a classic crime of passion, prosecutor Janet Hope explained in her closing statement. The defendant and the victim had planned to run away together with money stolen from Emily's husband. But at the last moment, something went wrong. The investigation gradually uncovered a tangled story. A partial fingerprint on the knife handle was the first serious lead. Despite attempts to wipe away the evidence, experts were able to recover enough details for identification. The fingerprint belonged to Michael Rivera. Michael initially claimed that he had spent the entire night at work at the bar, until 2 a.m., and then went straight home. His statement was corroborated by other bar employees. However, detectives discovered a discrepancy in his alibi. Surveillance cameras at a gas station 3 blocks from the bar recorded Rivera's motorcycle at 12:05 a.m., Detective Connors said during the trial. This means he left the bar earlier than he claimed. When questioned again, Michael's colleagues admitted that they had agreed to cover for him for an hour at his request, thinking he had gone on a date. Further investigation revealed that Rivera's motorcycle was spotted on a surveillance camera 2 blocks from the Taylors' home at 12:15 a.m. on the night of the murder. Michael was clearly heading to Emily's house, even though he had previously denied seeing her that evening. But the most compelling evidence came unexpectedly. During a search of Michael's apartment, detectives found his laptop. In the trash folder, they found deleted emails between him and Emily from a few hours before the murder. At 10:30 p.m., after Higgins's visit, Emily wrote to Michael, "It's over. H said he already sent all the information to J. He knows about us, about the money, about everything. H offered a deal. He won't turn me into the authorities if I give him back some of the money." I agreed. We have no choice. Come as soon as you can, we need to review the plan. Michael replied at 10:45 p.m. What the hell, Emily? We had a deal. That money is our chance to start a new life. I don't want to end up with nothing again. I'll be there soon. This was the last known exchange between them. According to the reconstruction of events presented by the prosecution, Michael arrived at the Taylors' house around midnight. By this time, Emily was already feeling the effects of the sleeping pill that Ann Foster had slipped into her wine. They went up to the bedroom, where Emily told him about her conversation with Higgins and her decision to give him some of the money. According to investigators, a serious conflict arose at that moment. Michael probably accused Emily of betraying their joint plan. He may also have learned that Emily was simultaneously preparing to divorce James, planning to obtain a significant share of his company, a strategy she had not told Michael about. Emily Taylor was a master manipulator, explained a psychologist who testified as an expert witness at the trial. She was playing several games at once. She was planning her escape with one lover, blackmailing another, gathering dirt on her husband for a lucrative divorce, and at the same time planning to get rid of everyone as soon as she got what she wanted. The prosecution suggested that Michael lost control when he found out about Emily's double game. Under the influence of sleeping pills, Emily was unable to resist effectively. A medical expert confirmed that the nature of the wounds indicated a crime of passion. After the murder, Michael attempted to stage a robbery by breaking a mirror and overturning furniture. He also began burning divorce papers in the fireplace, but was forced to leave the house in a hurry when he heard the sound of a car approaching, possibly a neighbor returning home. He didn't expect us to connect him to the murder, Connors explained. He hoped suspicion would fall on James Taylor, who had an obvious motive after receiving the anonymous message, or on Higgins, who disappeared immediately after the crime. Michael's defense was based on the fact that there was no direct evidence against him, only circumstantial evidence. His lawyer emphasized that the fingerprint on the knife could have been left there earlier, when Michael was at the Taylor's house while James was away, and his motorcycle could have been in the area by chance. Perhaps he was passing by on his way home. But the jury was convinced by the weight of the evidence: the fingerprint on the murder weapon, the breach of alibi, the electronic correspondence proving the conflict, and Michael's subsequent actions. After the murder, he tried to access Emily's secret account using information she had entrusted to him. And when he learned of her death, he hurriedly packed his belongings to leave, but was detained by police at a bus station. The murder of Emily Taylor is a tragedy born of greed, deception, and manipulation, the prosecutor said in her closing argument. All those involved in this drama were caught up in toxic relationships built on lies, and when those lies began to unravel, fatal consequences ensued. After the verdict was handed down, Judge Richards set a date for sentencing and dismissed the jury. But the story of Oak Hollow did not end there. The scandalous murder had far-reaching consequences for the town and everyone involved. James Taylor, although acquitted of his wife's murder, faced the consequences of her financial machinations. An audit revealed serious irregularities in the company, resulting in the bank withdrawing its credit line. Taylor Construction declared bankruptcy 6 months after Emily's death. "I lost everything," James admitted in a rare interview with a local newspaper. "My wife, my company, my reputation. The worst thing is realizing that the person you loved was planning your destruction all along." Robert Foster, Emily's second lover, was forced to confess his infidelity to his wife. Despite the scandal, Anne decided to stay married, although she faced her own legal problems because of the sleeping pills that had been slipped into Emily's wine. The prosecution charged her with assault, but not with complicity in murder, as it was proven that she had left the Taylor's house before Michael arrived. "I regret my actions that night," Anne said at the hearing, "but I did not want Emily dead. I just wanted to find evidence to save my marriage." Anne received a suspended sentence and community service. Her husband Robert lost most of his clients and was forced to leave Oak Hollow to start over in another town. Linda Morris, the chief accountant who first discovered Emily's financial fraud, was hailed as a heroine of the town. Her testimony helped piece together the full picture of the crime. "I always felt that something was wrong with that woman," she admitted after the trial. "I wish I could have convinced James earlier. Maybe then things would have turned out differently." Thomas Higgins never returned to the U.S. According to Interpol, he settled in a Southeast Asian country, where he continued his document forgery activities. His role in the murder remains unclear. He did meet with Emily on the night of her death, but left the house before Michael arrived. He was the one who sent the anonymous message to James, but he probably didn't realize what consequences it would have. Emily's parents, a modest couple from Detroit, were stunned to learn about their daughter's double life. "We didn't know the person she had become," her father told reporters sadly. "The Emily we raised was not capable of such things. I don't know where we went wrong." A year after the tragedy, Oak Hollow was still trying to recover from the shock. The closure of Taylor Construction led to job losses. Many local residents were forced to look for work in neighboring towns. The reputation of the once idyllic town was tarnished by a scandalous story that attracted the attention of the national media. "Everyone thinks that life in small towns is simpler, quieter," Detective Connors mused, summing up the case. "But sometimes it's in places like this that the darkest secrets emerge. Everyone is so close to each other here that any lie creates a wave of consequences that affects everyone. The site of the Taylor mansion is now a vacant lot. The house was sold to the bank for debt and then demolished. No one wanted to live in a place where such a brutal crime had taken place. Ironically, today it is just an empty lot overgrown with grass and bushes, a metaphor for the emptiness that this story left in the lives of all those involved. The scariest thing about this case, Connors concluded, is not the murder itself, but how easily people can live a lie. Emily Taylor spent years creating a facade behind which a completely different person was hiding. And everyone around her, her husband, her lovers, her colleagues, saw only what she wanted them to see. Michael Rivera was sentenced to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. At the sentencing hearing, he publicly admitted his guilt for the first time. "I loved her," he said, addressing the court, "in my own twisted way, but I loved her. When I realized that I was just a tool to her, part of a plan, I don't excuse my actions. Nothing can excuse what I did. But I want everyone to know, Emily Taylor was not the person everyone saw. She created an illusion, and we all fell victim to it." Detective Connors closed the Emily Taylor case file, but questions remained in her mind that may never be answered. Did Michael really come that night with the intention of killing her? Or was it a moment of reckless rage? Did Emily know she was playing with fire by manipulating so many people at once? And who was she really? A cold-blooded con artist? Or just a woman desperately trying to escape a life she didn't want? "Every crime has moments that will forever remain a mystery," Connors mused. "We can reconstruct the actions, the motives, gather the evidence, but we'll never fully understand what was going on in the hearts and minds of people at the moment their lives changed forever." Oak Hollow continued on with its life. New families moved into town, children were born, holidays were celebrated, but the story of Emily Taylor had changed the place forever. Behind the facade of an idyllic American town now lay a dark secret that the locals preferred not to talk about, but never forgot. Perhaps that was the main lesson of this tragedy. Behind perfect facades often lie the darkest secrets, and the truth has a way of coming out, sometimes with devastating consequences.